There we go. We are live for night 3 of 10-12 rankings week. This is the 10-12 podcast live show on YouTube. Night 3 podcast that covers all 16 teams in the Big 12 Conference, of course, flagship show of the 10-12 network. Find every show in the network. That includes one of our guests tonight, the Bear Den, at 1012network.com. Are you guys signing? Is this like
we're doing? There's so many numbers now.
After you get a degree from Baylor, there's like a sign language thing. You wouldn't get it. Sorry,
that's fine. Sorry. Now I look what you guys do in Waco. That's not like
it's how we speak to the camera operator in our new basketball stadium because he can't hear you if you try to.
Oh yes. That is a very
crazy that he has oxygen on the moon. I've always been stunned by that.
Welcome to Rankings Week. Tonight we are ranking what we are the most impactful games in the Big 12 for the 2024 season. We're doing 12 games because you play a 12-game schedule, so it seems a fitting number. Joining me tonight, of course, we've had 2 great shows this week already. If you haven't listened to them in audio format or watched them on YouTube, we have done most impactful transfer players with Joe Burrow on Sunday. And then last night with Adam Eaton of Sons of UCF, we did Big 12 coach rankings 1 through 16 or 16 through 1. Same difference, banana, nanner, whatever you want to do. Tonight, we're doing most impactful games. But before we get to that, I've got to introduce our guests here. Their names are here, but, everyone's podcast is someone's first. Everyone's podcast. At this point, it's becoming a bit where I can't get that line right. Like it's almost like it's on purpose. Joe Goodman of the Bear Den. That is our Baylor show in the 10-12 network. Joe, welcome back, sir.
It's wonderful to be here. Whenever I get the call to come to the mothership, you never say no to that. Plus, we get to hang out with you, our resident, most amazing God regent of 10 or Big 12 podcasting. So. Give me a raise.
Okay. First off, let's not use God. I'm a little bit worried about lightning strikes. And second of all, you went to Baylor. You should know better.
I'm allowed to, though. I can say it. You can't.
Once again, Phillip, you wouldn't get it. 4 years at Baylor that we got. You wouldn't get.
The other gentleman joining us tonight is a name Drake told. I gotta follow. Okay, between Locked On Big 12 and the pimp fur coats that you wear for the Savannah Bananas. If there's more than that, that's fine. No. I'm just going to start calling you, like, if you've seen the Slippery Rock logo where it's a rock and a pimp coat with a pennant, I'm just going to start calling you Slippery Rock because it seems like a weirdly appropriate nickname for Drake Toll.
Does it have a nickname? Hold on.
I don't remember. I mean, at this moment, Drake Toll is currently sitting in wet
Rocky.
Shorts.
His name is Rocky.
Rocky.
You forgot.
Not only that, Phillip, I don't know if you've noticed though. He does. Everything you've mentioned is true, but he's also sneakily just drinking cans of Yoo-hoo right now.
You also forgot passionate lover, but only so far. Because 4 years at Baylor, there's lines of these things.
If I hadn't met him in person, I wouldn't think he's real.
Drake Toll is a figment of our imagination. He does not exist in real life. He's actually the first AI program, AI bot that has just
AI got it wrong. It got it really, really wrong.
Let's see. Baylor grad who wears
ChatGPT.
Baylor grad wears rainbow colored fur coats, chugs Yoo-hoo. Yes, that is a real human being that would exist in real life. I mean, only from Waco. Okay. Before we get to our most impactful games of the season ranking, we got to talk a little CFB 25, CFB 25, CFB 25, for the SEO purposes. Real quick. Big 12 only. What are the 3 Big 12 teams? Rank them 3 to 1. You would use dynasty mode in CFB 25. Joe.
All right. So number 3 to 1, Oklahoma State. I was really torn between them and Colorado for this spot because I have 2 criteria for a dynasty team. You got to have cool uniforms and you got to have a cool stadium. All right. So I'm going Oklahoma State 1. I love their uniforms. Boone Pickens is a badass place. So I got to give him credit there. Number 2.
Narrow sidelines.
Yeah, exactly. You're on top of people there. It's scary. The newbies are in for it this year, I think. Anyway, number 2, I'm going Baylor. It's my school, so of course I'm going to pick it. Plus, I like the green and gold. I love McLean Stadium. It looks gorgeous in the game. Do not boo me. Number 1, I think this might be a sleeper. People might be surprised, but I said uniforms and stadium, and maybe the coolest combo now in the Big 12, Arizona State University. The Sun Devils
stage. Get them off the
Sun
stage.
Devils awesome. They've had some awesome, crazy, ugly, but wonderful uniforms in the past. And I love their stadium. Their stadium's really cool.
That's stunning. Joe, I have a lot of respect for how random at least 2 of those were. Though Ollie Gordon is the preseason pick in the game for Heisman winner, so you kind of get a cheat code there. I think Colorado's fun to play with. I played with them once already just to see. And they
have beaten me down twice already in the game.
Yeah, I beat Georgia. One of my friends, who's I would say comparable, beat Georgia with them because they're the warriors of the game. If you play as Colorado, like you get 2 of the best players in all of college football, according to the game. I went 3. Talk about cool venue. I don't really care about uniforms. I care about rebuild. I want to play in a flipping cool venue that's packed out every time and kind of rebuild a program. I love BYU. I think BYU is one of those.
I knew it was coming. I
could turn around within a couple of years. But SEO. Then number 2, past BYU, I said West Virginia. Passionate fan base, cool place to play, awesome traditions. You get the pit rivalry. Sneaky good too in the game. They give you to me an easy team to rebuild within a couple of years because they have the history there and their prestige, which matters in the game, is not bad. And then my number 1, and it's a bit of a cheat because they are good now. The Kansas Jayhawks. I want to see it through to fruition. I want to see Lance Leipold. I wish they had Arrowhead Stadium in the game. I want to see Lance Leipold take the Jayhawks to absolute victory. And I want to see Jeff Grimes' son, who's a redshirt defensive end, become the Heisman winner in his redshirt campaign through 4 games. Graydon Grimes. I love the Kansas uniforms. I love the Kansas atmosphere. I love that Kansas is good now. Give me the Jayhawks at my number 1 because they're a quick rebuild and you still go, oh, yeah, like there's no stolen value. If you pick Alabama, you suck. But if you pick Kansas, they're like, yeah, it's Kansas. That's on the table.
I will give you a Kansas national championship game in the game under one condition, Drake, and that is that you have to beat Texas in the title game.
Fine. Whatever. Yes. If I have to.
Look, if real college football fan, you're allowed to pick your team. That's fine. Yeah. If you're not picking a G5 team, if you're just like a random person, like I've chosen Ohio State, I don't want to play with you. I don't do. Okay, my 3 would be Kansas. Number 3, I agree. The 5, the idea of building with Jalen Daniels, that's a lot of fun. I would like to play the game with Jalen Daniels, assuming that he stays healthy in the game for full season. We'll actually see if that's an option. Number 2 is UCF. I want to get the bounce house a rocking, and y'all, we're just going to be the Citronauts. We're only wearing Citronaut blue. That's all we're going to do.
I'm all in on this. This is great.
This is Citronaut blue in the bounce house a rocking. Number 2. Number 1, I can't pick Oklahoma State. That's okay. I'm taking Texas Tech. I want Texas Tech.
Good,
I want to turn Texas Tech into the power in the middle of nowhere. Like the opportunity's there. We know in real life they've got money. I could turn Texas Tech into a dynasty of a power. That would be a ton of fun. Plus, can you imagine, as crazy as that stadium gets in a night game, can you imagine if that was like in real life, that Texas Tech became like a college football power and what that venue would be like? The tortillas would just be like the whole field would just be like, oh, we're just running on tortillas tonight because that's all we got. So Kansas, UCF, Texas Tech, give me those. That's so much fun.
Yeah,
I have a really bad feeling, Joe.
Benches out of the stadium after the Crabtree catch.
I have a really bad feeling that like Phillip's just going to have a way better list than us in every way. This is not a good start. Not a good start for the guests of the podcast.
He is drastically better at everything than us, and we accepted that.
There are no wrong answers. This is all. Look, we're picking most impactful games. Y'all realize that by like week 4, this list of all the lists and all the rankings we're going to do is the least going to matter. This is all preseason.
That's why I picked us up top there, big guy.
No, this is a vibe pod, and I said I need 2 guys who can bring good vibe. I need Joe and Drake. Internal is Joe, external is Drake. This is a perfect duo for what essentially is a vibe pod. So let's get going. Here's how we're going to do this. Kind of figured this out with the first one. I think this is a good way to do it, so that we don't have to like bounce back and forth between games as we all go like 12-1. Joe, I'm going to have you start us off. with your number 12, your number 1, because it doesn't really matter. We're going to go 1 to 12. And then Drake and I will say, if we have that one, where we have it. And if not, then we can each do our game in that spot. But we'll kind of let Joe kind of lead it on, and then we can come back to like, hey, mine was this. I had this game and this game, and you had this game. That way, we don't have to like we're all gonna have like Kansas State, Oklahoma State. I can imagine. So like, we don't have to like talk about it and then 10 minutes later.
Wait a second. You guys have Kansas State, Oklahoma State?
I don't at number 1. Not at number 1.
Well,
that's not good.
Yeah,
you understand. So let's start. We'll just go 1 to 12. I think that's a perfectly fine order. I don't think we have to be like, I wonder what number 1 is. No one's sticking around just to know. Joe, number 1. What
Utah
is your
at
number
Oklahoma
1
State? Utah at Oklahoma State. I think that in my opinion, and you'll see this through my list, is like there are 3 teams, and I'm sorry to these 3 teams. I'm destroying the hope that the universe has for at least 2 of you by saying this, but Utah, Oklahoma State, Kansas State, I think are the clear top of the totem pole in the conference. I picked Utah at Oklahoma State, exactly what we talked about earlier, because it's Utah's first experience coming into the confines of Boone Pickens. I can't wait till they have to hear the paddles and you just feel like every single student is right on top of you on your sideline. So I took that over another game that I have at 2 that's a classic conference game, even a classic Big 8 game, because this is a new conference matchup. So I'm doing Utah at Oklahoma State at number 1.
Drake, where do you have this one?
I do have Utah and Oklahoma State on my list. They come in at 3 for me. The reason they come in for 3 is my 1 and my 2 are both late season games that I believe will be very consequential at the 11th hour for who goes to the Big 12 championship game. However, early on, I've got Utah at Oklahoma State at 3 because I believe this is one of the 2 games that the Utes drop in the regular season, despite still going to Arlington and vying for the conference title.
I also have this game number 1. And I think it's because it's of a lot of the games we're going to talk about here. By the end of the season, this game may not have the impact we think it's going to, but in week 4, barring some craziness in non-conference, given what these 2 teams have in the schedule, this should be a big game.
Yeah.
Like, look, maybe OSU pulls the South Alabama again. Maybe Utah, they got to play Baylor. Baylor is a whole lot better than we think they're going to be. And so maybe this game doesn't, but like we're talking week 4. Of all the games on here, this one is the most likely that when we actually get to it is 2 ranked opponents, a marquee game. Maybe game day is here because of Gundy versus Whittingham, 2 of the longest tenured coaches with the records that they have, and a first ever face off and conference play. Like this one's got a lot of like, this is a great week 1 Big 12 game to kind of have on that week 4 slate. So like, I agree. I think these are 2 teams that are both, we know, should be contending for it. So it makes a lot of sense if this is a marquee game early in the conference slate to say, we think this is going to impact what happens in Arlington when we get to the end of the regular season. So I agree. We all have it top 3. That makes a ton of sense. I love it. Joe, what is your number 2?
No surprise here. I have Oklahoma State at Kansas State. This is what I think is actually going to be, I think the conference championship game I'm predicting will be a rematch of this one. So I think this is an important game to kind of see. Like, this could end up being something that destroys somebody's season, right? Where it's just like, oh no, we're not as good as that team. Maybe it shoots your confidence and they don't actually make it. But I think these are the top 2 for me. This is the juggernauts. These are the big games that you want to watch in the new Big 12. So I have Oklahoma State at Kansas State.
Drake, what do you got at 2?
What I have at 2, or do I?
Or where do you have this game? Do you have this game on there?
I did not put this game on my list. I do not by the end of the season, have enough confidence in Oklahoma State to say that they will be still in the conference championship hunt around week 11 or week 12. I believe that Oklahoma State goes as far as Alan Bowman goes, and in a quarterback class in the Big 12 that is stacked, where he might be the 10th best QB in the league. I just don't know if they catch lightning in a bottle. Again, the defense is going to have to improve. I think that you look back at their stats from last season, there were spots where you go, they won? And I just don't know if I can buy into Oklahoma State yet. Despite, automatic 8 wins. They win 8 games. It's going to happen. That's the way that it goes. But very similarly to what Texas Tech did last year, what Baylor did 2 years ago, when you put expectations on a lot of these Big 12 programs, that's where they crumble. You make them the underdog, they're right there. You put the expectations, and they don't meet it. I don't think either of these schools play in Arlington. I didn't have this one on my list.
Bold.
That's fine.
Yeah.
I also have it at number 2.
That's crazy. Did you guys? Do you work for the same network?
We do.
I don't know. No comment. Look, here's the thing. Your comment on Oklahoma State, and I get all that. We have enough history of Gundy.
Yeah, it's Gundy.
Like,
That's what it's always just, it's back to Gundy.
And the 1-score record for Gundy in his tenure at Oklahoma State is such that I have faith in Gundy in close games.
Yeah.
Like I get it. There were games last year you're just like, oh man. Like, look at all these close games come from behind wins. I can't believe they keep doing this. Oh, it's Mike Gundy. Like the entire 2015 season was just, let's see how many games we can win in the final minute by 3 points. Like it's just, that's just what he does. And that's when you have good seasons, is when he's winning close games. It's not gonna be a lot of blowouts. So like I throw in the fact that this isn't a rivalry, but like at this point, I feel like the games between the 4 remaining Big 8. I understand Colorado's Big 8, they're coming back, but I mean the games that involve Kansas State, Iowa State, Kansas, and Oklahoma State. There is a mutual, we all like to play each other. We all like each other. We don't like losing to each other, but there's a certain mutual, like, these are games that we look forward to. Like as an Oklahoma State fan, like I have a hard time with like, if you were to have multiple rivalries established, like I think OSU and Texas Tech should play every single season. That just makes too much sense. But like, I like playing Kansas State. I love playing Iowa State. And so even if at the end of the year, this game doesn't have that impact, this is typically a decent series. We saw an interesting game last year. Playing Manhattan's tough. I still think this is going to be a good game, even if it doesn't end up the second most impactful like Joe and I have it. I do think, I think somewhere between where Joe and I have it and where you don't have it is where this game probably ends up by the end of the season.
And I'll give you, there's a common trend in my list, that being the 2 teams that I think will meet in Arlington at the end of the year, their most consequential games, how they make it to the conference championship. And then I've got a third wild card team that I buried in there that I think will wreak a lot of havoc on different Big 12 programs. And then for Oklahoma State and Kansas State, a couple of games that I put in for them that will be the game that they lose that pulls them out of contention. Even my number 1 features a Kansas State in a game that I think keeps them out of the conference title game. So I went with most consequential when they occur, less so preseason, big game, big hype.
That's fair. That's fair. I mean, look, we all have our methods. I put a lot of I've got a mix of teams because I have good luck picking up who's going to be in Arlington. Like everyone's got to, we have, this is the business, this is the job. We have to make predictions for these things, but like, y'all, this is the Big 12. The teams that have made it into the conference championship game by the end of the year, preseason picks like 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Now there's 16 teams in this conference. If you tell me preseason number 11's in Arlington in December, like, yep, welcome to the Big 12. That's what happens here. Okay, Joe, since we're taking in order, what's your number 3 here?
Number 3, and I'll give you my method real quick. I looked through the entire schedule for everyone, wrote down all the piece of candy games that I saw, and then wrote a number next to them from what made me most excited. Number 3, maybe my favorite non-Baylor Big 12 game, and this one is exactly what you were just talking about, Phillip. A classic Big 8 game. I think the best one in the Big 8. Farmageddon, number 3, Kansas State, Iowa State. Massive implication for the Big 12 title game in this one. I think Iowa State, I have as a sneaky team that could jump up into that top tier if 2 of those teams do end up falling out and seeing themselves in Arlington. That defense is going to play. And so if they figure something out on the offensive side of the ball, if they finally just are a little bit higher than average on offense, they could be really dangerous. So I have Farmageddon at 3.
Oh, baby, that dog does hunt. I love it. I have got at number 1, Kansas State at Iowa State. Wildcats going in, want to go to Arlington. If they win the game, they punch the ticket, but that thorn in their side, the Cyclones and Matt Campbell pull off the win in Ames. Both teams still finish in the top 8. The top half of the Big 12 is a very competitive 8 schools, because you think about a West Virginia, the bottom half of that, we mentioned Iowa State and where they are, and Arizona is going to vie in that range as well. I think this is the game that keeps Kansas State out of the Big 12 championship, and because it happens on the last weekend, and I can I can try to guarantee that one of these two teams will be in a spot to possibly go to the conference title. That to me makes it a big time marquee game when this could decide your conference champion. Number one for me, Kansas State at Iowa State. Play it every year, cowards.
You can thank Jamie Pollard for that not being a thing. I have this at number 5, so it is on my list. How can you not? The Farmageddon is, and like I know every time I say this, like BYU and Utah fans come at me. Farmageddon's the best rivalry. I will go, and I'm happy to change my opinion when BYU Utah gets played, and we're like,
yeah.
Iowa State, Kansas State. Like, even when it's a blowout, it feels like it's a close game and a gnarly game and an aggressive game and two teams that just don't like each other. And it's not an in-state rivalry. It's not like Kansas State. And that's the other thing is how many non-in-state rivalries are, and I understand nationally it's still kind of building up, but like outside of Red River, name me the other like big time non-state. I think of that. I think of Georgia,
like Florida,
Georgia. Yeah.
Tennessee, Bama.
I mean, is that a
Ohio State,
like,
Michigan.
I know it's a rivalry, but like it's not.
Yeah. This is what I'll say. The Holy War will have an argument when they can get two groups of farmers arguing with each other about which crop is better. Like, it transcends football. This is wheat versus corn, baby.
How do you want to get drunk? Corn, wheat.
So good.
We all have, and this is just going to be one of those games. It's like you could tell me that both teams are going to be like 1-11 this season. Just to be like, I don't care. I'm still putting it on my list. It's freaking Farmageddon.
I live in Texas, man. This is Tex-Mex heaven. This is corn tortillas versus flour, baby.
And flour is better.
What? Oh,
yeah,
we're gonna mute. We're gonna mute Drake.
It depends on the meat.
It's just a wrong take.
Hey, if you turn my audio up, you can hear my dog drinking out of the toilet bowl in there. He knows there's nothing I can do. There's nothing I can do
at the pool party.
Do you not have a door to like?
I forgot to close to the bathroom, and I can audibly hear the laughing, and I know what the toilet seat sounds like, and that's what it is from the other room, and I am hopeless.
Okay, Joe, number 4. What do you got?
Number 4. Oh, I have another rivalry game. This one is going to be, it's finally fun for the last couple of years. This is an in-state rivalry, and I've got Kansas at Kansas State.
Good. Yep. That for me fell at 6 here. Again, week 9, we're getting toward, it's cold now. It's cold. We are talking end of the season, opportunity for either of these teams to punch a ticket. I think Kansas State does win this game being at home. I still have a lot of faith in Kansas and their opportunity to get to Arlington. I have this game at 6 for me. It's just outside the top 5.
I also have this at 4. This has become like finally a game that's fun. Now, Kansas still can't seem to win the game. Like, even when they get close, it is so frustrating for them. And last year was like you're like, oh, Kansas can finally get it. Nope, never mind. Just kidding. Haha, sorry. But it has become a fun game. And I also think like it is a game that matters. It's a game with two teams that should be vying for it late. It's two teams who finally both matter. And like, so like, and how are you not excited about this? Like, how you feel about Avery Johnson? Like, he's going to be good. And Avery versus fingers crossed, spectacles, testicles, wallet, watch. Like, Jalen Daniels will be healthy for this game finally. Whatever Baylor does, I don't know. Rare Claw. I don't. Is there like? There you go.
What do you mean rare? It's like the simplest one in the conference. Everyone knows that, Phillip. Whatever they do, you know what they do.
It's not.
You lift it up and then you rip open the cavity, knock the heart into the sky. That's what they teach you.
Yeah.
I'm not kidding.
And then the dead body goes to heaven because we prayed for it.
I'm good. How can you not? I mean, Sunflower Showdown. It's just. Again, these are two games also that's like, it's just gonna be fun. Like we now get to look forward to these games because we're excited about two teams that were going to be fun to play. I mean, you can look forward to a lot of games. Okay. Number 5 for you, Joe. What you got?
Number 5, first conference game of the year. It is a newbie versus an OG member. Arizona at Kansas State. Another reason I find this one to be super important is because I don't have any idea what Arizona is going to be this year. They've lost so much from the team that was good last year they're going to have preseason hype coming in just because of who they were last year. But I think it's going to be a different team. Are they going to be able to handle themselves? Going into Bill Snyder Family Stadium is not going to be like what they experienced most of the time in the Pac-12 last year. As people, according to Stuart Mandel, everybody's at the beach. But I think this is a really important game. I think it's one I'm very excited about because it's going to be appointment viewing. It's the first one. So Arizona, Kansas State.
I don't believe, with this game, especially being in Manhattan, that Arizona will not only win, but I don't know if they contend. I think this is a bit of a wake-up call for Arizona, who didn't lose too much. The skeleton's still there between T-Mac and Noah Fafita. It's a very dangerous offense. But will they adjust to the Big 12? Will they adjust to hopefully a night game? Please, God, make it a night game in Manhattan. I don't think so. I didn't have this on my list because I just don't think that Arizona is going to make this a game. I think Kansas State puts the hammer down and just runs the Wildcat on Wildcat crime, runs through Arizona.
I don't have this on my list. I don't.
We finally deviated.
Partially, it's like I think I only picked conference games. So, but even then,
this is
there's.
No, it's not.
It's not it is a conference game, but it's a non-conference game.
I broke that rule twice on purpose.
Because Baylor,
once on purpose, one by accident. I didn't know this was one of the non-con.
This is one of the non-con. They have a home and home that they just didn't reschedule because reasons.
I was wondering why it was so early in the year. Okay, I take it back. It's not the first conference game of the season. But anyway, they get to
but it kind of is.
It's like a Big 12 preview. Because it
won't be because there is another game that happens between Big 12
Baylor, Utah.
True. Yeah. It's a Big 12, but it's kind of like a preseason game. Like it counts for the overall, but it doesn't matter about getting to Arlington.
Yeah.
So very good. Okay. No. Number 6, Joe. What you got?
Number 6, I'm gonna throw a bone to the rivalry we talked about just a minute ago. I've got the Holy War at number 6.
Love it. Love it. Not at 6 for me, though I'm a big fan of both of these programs, the passion their fan base brings on both sides. BYU being the very clean-cut, nice people, and Utah having this grudge for being in the Big 12. This is the most important game in the Big 12 for the next 2 decades. It is the best rivalry in the Big 12 conference from a national scale. And any year these two teams are good because of – there are 2 things that really play into this. One, you have a major state school in Utah who has won the Pac-12 twice. Like that's a good program under Kyle Whittingham. The other is the flagship program of one of the fastest growing faiths in the entire world. They have fans literally everywhere. You combine those 2 things and the knowledge of the rivalry at the national scale, despite both those schools not being power programs until literally last season, that to me could make this one of the most important games moving forward in the Big 12. I have it at 8. It's going to need to be a marquee match. It needs to grow to become something bigger than the Big 12. Like, you think about Michigan and Ohio State. That is the game you turn on in the Big 10. It's bigger than the Big 10. That game, it is all-encompassing in that conference. Everybody points to that one. The Big 12 needs that. BYU, Utah, historically, can become that quicker than any other rivalry here.
I don't have it on my list.
Whoa!
And hear me out here.
I get it.
It's just I don't know how good BYU is going to be this year. Like my fear is that this game is just going to be like it's our first
game to me.
Here's the deal. I am very fearful that we've been sold the intensity and incredibleness of this rivalry. This game is so important, and Utah is going to go in and pound BYU the first time it's a Big 12 game. We're all going to go, okay, cool, thanks.
Yeah.
It turns into West Virginia Marshall.
Yeah, and that's my fear, and I'm like, I get it, and I get it from that standpoint. Like, it is an important rivalry, and all the arguments you've made, Drake, are valid. But like for this season, I'm hoping it's a good game. I'm just not expecting it to be.
My thing is, BYU has the first ever BYU Jewish quarterback ever, as well as Gary Bohannon, who went to a Christian school, a Baptist school. And we know there's such a strong LDS connection to BYU. They're praying to a lot of different things here. They've got a lot on their side from the spiritual standpoint. And that helps them only lose by 17. And we established this as a good game.
Okay.
A lot of faith going on there. A lot of faith behind center.
You've put the picture in my head from the movie The Mummy where Benny, the sidekick, just has the necklace of every god that he
Jobu.
Oh, Joe, you just keep pulling out some great movie references tonight. I appreciate it. Joe, number 7 on your list.
Number 7. Look, Edward R. Murrow used to talk about how of course, there's going to always be, bias in your reporting, and everybody always compares me to one of the greatest newsmen of all time. So my number 7, I have what I consider to be my favorite rivalry in the conference, TCU at Baylor. I have one note next to this, Phillip, and it just says, "Please win."
Shockingly, Phillip, I don't believe that either of these teams will contend for the Big 12. I know, crazy. I do not have this game on my list, though it's fun, and I'm going to enjoy the fact that Baylor could possibly win because both these teams are down. I do not have it on my list.
I don't.
Taquan Finn legacy game, 500 yards passing.
I do not have the Revivlary,
Mm-hmm.
the Revivlary on the list. I
Blue
do
bomb
have a
crap.
Baylor game. I have a feeling I'll be the only one with it on there, but we'll get to it in a bit. Yeah, look, it's a fun game. It's gonna be a rivalry game. All this talk of rivalry games does anyone remember that Arizona and Arizona State's technically a rivalry game? Or
In
is
the
this
same way,
least memorable live rivalry game like in the Big 12 now?
in the same
like,
way that Kansas
you'll-
State and Kansas
you'll
3
find
years
out.
ago, no one cared. I think it's the same thing as the Sunflower Showdown for the last 20 years was just, oh yeah, I forgot they called that game something. And they're in state because one team dominated. I think Kansas State and Kansas is very comparable to the current Arizona State because I don't think we really care.
Does anyone know the name of the rivalry game?
So I
They
think
can't. Do they have a name?
Oh.
it's the Commissioner's Cup
Oh.
or the Confederation Cup. It's a cup and it starts with a C.
no.
But you'll
The
notice
Sunflower
a theme that we're
Bonnet
in
Bowl
with my list. A theme in my list is what I think the most important games of 2024. I think of building the Big 12 brand. So rivalries
Okay.
are very much in my list.
That's
Good.
valid.
Very
That's valid. I'm good with
Good,
that.
good,
I'm good with that. All right. Joe, number 8.
Number 8, Arizona State at Arizona. And I have my one note.
Joe, what? Why?
You're to segue that
No!
better.
You poker faced that. You gave no inclination that you were about to drop the craziest number 8 of all time. Of all time. We haven't even gotten what?
I love this. This is fun. I told you, the show's all vibes. Well, that's why he knew what it was called. This is why he knew what it was called.
He wrote it
'cause
down.
had he not put this on his list, he also would have been like, I don't know, I have to Google it.
Yeah.
I've
I've also previewed both these teams already this year. So
fair enough. Needless to say, this is not on my list.
It's not on my list, Phillip.
y'all are just
Not on my
fun.
list.
All right, I'll go to 9. I'll just keep
Go
it
ahead.
moving then.
Yeah,
Number
yeah.
9, I will just tell you what the note is next to this game and see if you can guess it. Number 9, I have the Xerox Bowl.
Cincinnati Towson. Cincinnati Towson.
Cincinnati Towson is great, but that's not a conference game. No, this is Texas Tech University at Oklahoma State.
Good. Good.
You
Finally.
mean the Red Dirt rivalry? You mean the Dust Bowl?
Yes, all of the above. My favorite is that Texas Tech claims that everything at Oklahoma State is Xeroxed.
Texas Tech claims everyone copies everything off of them. If you do any, like everything
True.
is copied up. No, I'm sorry. We rode a horse first. No, I'm sorry. We had black and orange or black and red as our colors.
Let's
No,
be honest.
sorry.
And I'm about
We had a Cowboys. I like when they're like, we had a Cowboys and mascot first. I'm like, that's
True.
not a
Bounce
cowboy.
thing, them. You know,
So-
Michael Crabtree, first ever wide receiver to catch a touchdown. That's what started the whole thing.
He's
But
actually
here's
the first
reason, though,
Biletnikoff winner.
and I'm sorry.
So,
I'm sorry to my
They
tech
invented
friends.
it because of him.
My tech friends are about to get mad at me, but Phillip, what happens is when they discover something in Lubbock, they've never seen it anywhere else. So they think they created it.
Hey, wait a second. What are you supposed to do with these discs? I guess we could throw them on the field. They found out recently it's a food. Only very recently that it's a food.
You just eat tacos. You just put all the the pieces into your hand and then just feed bag it.
We've been doing this wrong the whole time.
What do you mean you can roll it up? Deep fry? What?
We got a good team. I think we're going to win 7 games this year.
okay.
It's a miracle.
I love this game. This is a fun budding rivalry. That's why I have it in.
Oh no!
It is good.
This should be like I understand. There was too much infighting within the ADs to figure out how to have rivalries beyond this the in-state ones. That's all we have.
Yeah.
This should be a rivalry. This should be an annual rivalry game. Every Texas
makes
Tech
sense.
fan that I'm a friend of agrees with me. OSU fans would like this to be a rivalry game. You can call it the Dust Bowl or the Red Dirt Rivalry. I think Dust Bowl is the one that we all lean towards, which is perfect. And the trophy should be a enormous like Texas
tidal
belt
wave
buckle.
of dirt.
No, a giant belt buckle.
Oh,
an enormous belt buckle with the name of the rivalry in gold, like just obnoxious sized.
And we'll make the Baylor student paper mache department put it together.
How about this?
Yeah.
You could have a trophy that's like a Captain America shield, but you remove the Captain America and you change it with blue bonnets on the side.
And we'll make the Baylor student paper mache class put it together.
Yes.
Do you guys have this on your list, though? Tech at OSU. I have it at 9. Is it on your list?
No,
it is
I didn't.
It's my honorable mention. I do. So here's what's crazy about the Oklahoma State schedule. Listen to how winnable these games are. BYU, Baylor, Arizona State, TCU, and then a bye week. That is like a 5-week stretch from God himself for Oklahoma State. If you don't go, you've got to go 4-0.
And you're sitting here saying you don't think they're going to be in Arlington.
I worry about I worry about this Tech.
The first 6 weeks of the schedule for OSU is tough.
Yeah, it's front loaded. I worry about this Tech game being. I think Tech and West Virginia will both be the thorn in everyone's side. They might go 8-4, 7-5, 9-3 in that range. But the games that they do win, you're going, well, shoot, you just took one of our playoff contenders out. I see this being one of those games. I know Stillwater's a tough place to play. I think Texas Tech is gonna slip up on some people here, sneak up on some people, and make them very sad. It's my honorable mention just because I don't think in week 13 it's gonna. I got games that I have above it.
OSU is way more likely to choke away a game at TCU than to lose at home to Texas Tech.
Okay, yeah, I could take that.
But sure. It's OSU loses a game they're not supposed to lose every year.
True.
Texas Tech at TCU.
They usually do it early though. They're so good at just sucking. Like they're the greatest 3-3 and then win the last 6 of anybody in history.
Sometimes
they could very well do that.
Sometimes. What are we on?
Number 10.
10 for you, Joe.
Number 10. I have this labeled as the Cross Country Bowl. And this is where we get to see the ridiculousness of modern college football realignment. I have Utah heading to Orlando.
Oh, yes.
Pop. My number 2 game in the Big 12 in 2024. You're looking live. Orlando, the scene on a Friday night. Wow. The whole place is rocking. And then the UCF Knights have shocked the college football world. Colin. I think Utah, Kyle Whittingham is allergic. He's allergic to winning, to losing any less than one game, 2 games, 3 games. He's great at going 9-3, 10-2. They lose this game. I think they lose this game. Number 2 for me because Utah is already locked in a spot in Arlington by week 14. It's their last game. They lose. They lose on a Friday night at UCF. It's raining, by the way, because why not?
I have this number 3.
Yeah, it's nighttime, it's raining, and the bounce house is literally bouncing.
Yep. 2017 national champions plastered on the press box.
I have this number 3.
Love it.
Utah is going to play Iowa State, and then on a short week, go all the way to UCF and the bounce house for. It's not the space game. Sorry, Arizona fans, you're about to learn space game. But this is still going to be a massive game for UCF. They're going to show up and show out. They're way harder to beat at home than on the road. Last week of the season, short week after you played, only if you get up, you get way down on them. Like UCF's got to be tough. They've got to go to West Virginia the week before and then come home to play Utah. But this game, this is going to be a huge game.
Rough.
I think this game is going to decide in some part who's in Arlington the following week. I absolutely believe this with every fiber of my being. I am so excited for this game. And if it does not live up to my hype preseason, I will be disappointed.
This is like 10 days after the election. The nation turns its weary eyes to Orlando on a Friday night. It breaks all kinds of viewership records. I love Gus Malzahn on UCF as again one of those sneaky teams. I like having them at 2 because it's so late, and to me, I'm right there with you, Phillip. Will be so consequential for the Big 12. Give me this at 2.
All right, Joe, number 10.
Number 11.
All right, 11. Yes.
Number 11.
Sorry, Joe. He didn't go to Baylor. He can't count.
Yeah.
I have an OU degree.
Yeah, he's got an SEC degree. So
please
yeah,
throw shots at me. It's fine.
So this one I cheated on purpose. The last time I cheated was not on purpose. This is what I called the show me con non-con game.
Yep.
This is going to be where people that wear this shirt are going to decide whether or not they choose apathy or if they're going to continue to watch the season for the rest of the year. I think that's important because it's going to be how engaged is one of the main fan bases of the classic Big 12, Baylor at Utah. If Dave Aranda brings this squad up to Salt Lake City and they get the doors blown off of them, the bottom is going to fall out on this program. And I think this game, they don't have to win it, but if Baylor gets blown out, that's where the hot seat is so hot, you're just kind of counting the weeks. If they hang in there, they look competitive, they look like they have energy, and they look like they belong in this game, then you're like, okay, we'll see what he does against Air Force. We'll see what he does as Baylor gets into conference play. This game, though, it could be real bad. If they pull off the upset, though, we could see a total 180 from the fan base that we have. And you could start seeing, this is a road game, so you could start seeing the home games that we have after this start looking like older McLean from a decade ago rather than the McLean that we've seen the last year and a half.
And then after Baylor gets blown out and the bottom falls out, our father, Gary Patterson, picks up the broken pieces and puts them together one by one.
On me, Ricky Bobby. Don't you put that evil on me.
It's the 10-2 fighting Baylor Bears back in Arlington.
I don't know. I don't know what would happen to my mental health if Baylor went 0-2. They fired Dave Aranda. Gary Patterson took over and then went undefeated for the
table. Yeah, this when I think about Baylor's odds in this game, I think about Florida Utah last year and just how bad that game was. Very similarly to how I think about UCF and Oklahoma State last year, how bad that was. That's why I worry for Utah late in the year next year or this coming season. I worry for Baylor in the same reasons. I don't have this on there because I do think that Utah rolls in this game.
Yeah, I don't have it either. The two worst outcomes are Baylor gets absolutely blown out or Utah steals one in the closing minutes and breaks Baylor's soul.
Yeah.
Baylor's there and they're going to get this win and something bad happens and then Utah gets it, kicks a game-winning field goal from 55 yards out. And you're just like, oh, yeah, that's not good. By the way, if your Gary Patterson theory actually comes to pass, then in week 10, TCU can just drag the Gary Patterson statue with them to Waco and just leave it there.
And
when they show up,
stick the shield in the hand.
Gary Patterson win in green, win a natty in green and gold. How? Oh man, it'd be beautiful.
Then Baylor has to build him a statue so he can have a statue in both worlds.
They have to face.
They face each other.
Yes, they do. They have to be staring right at each other. That's magical. All right, I didn't have that one. 12, Joe. What's number 12 on your list?
12, and this is a full bias pick. I love this game every year. It has become one of my favorites. And I called this the Choice of Coach Bowl because until one of them leaves or is fired, all we will hear about is, did Baylor pick the right guy? And I have for the number 12 game on my list, Baylor at Texas Tech, Dave Aranda versus Joey McGuire.
That's not the name of this game. That's not the name of this game, sir. This game has
an
official form.
Say it, Joe. Say it.
I'm not going to say it.
Say it, Joe.
You picked it.
Thank you.
But yeah, I'm calling it the Choice of Coach Bowl. This again, this is a game that I think has massive implication on whether or not Dave Aranda is at Baylor. And I'm not gonna lie, I like when we won this game 2 years ago, it was like, haha, even when we're bad, we still beat you. So and no ill will towards Joey McGuire, the person. I love the dude, but you left and you went to Texas Tech. So Coach McGuire, I hope to kick your ass every time. So I've got this as number 12.
I just miss when this game was in Arlington and 48 people would show up because even when Baylor was good, Tech fans just didn't show up.
Just Tech random Arkansas fans that are there because they got it in a Groupon with their Texas A&M game.
Yeah, they're like, I guess I'll go to that one too. Okay, I just that's what I miss most about this game. Not on my list. 13. 13. 13. 13. 13. 13. 13. 13. 13. 13. 13. 13. 13. 13. 13. 13. 13. 13. 13. 13. 13. 13. 13. 13. 13. 13. 13. 13. 13. 13. 13. 13. 13. 13. 13. 13. 13. 13. 13. 13. 13. 13. 13. 13. 13. 13. 13. 13. 13. 13. 13. 13. 13. 13. 13. 13. 13. 13. 13. 13. 13. 13. 13. 13. 13. 13. 13. 13. 13. 13. 13. 13. 13. 13. 13. 13. 13. 13. 13. 13. 13. 13. 13. 13. 13. 13. 13. 13. 13. 13. 13. 13. 13. 13. 13. 13. 13. 13. 13. 13. 13. 13. 13. 13. 13. 13. 13. 13. 13. 13. 13. 13. 13. 13. 13. 13. 13. 13. 13. 13. 13. 13
Not on mine. One thing that is on my list is Charlie Hustle, official sponsor here of the 1012 podcast and the 1012 network. They love the Big 12 as much as the three of us do, which is why they have gear for all 16 Big 12 schools, and it is beautiful. We just had the Big 8 Road Show, some absolutely incredible stuff, some championship title tees for schools, the Kansas State ones, the Iowa State ones, absolutely fantastic. They just launched gear for Arizona, Arizona State, and Utah. They already had Colorado, but they dropped a little more Colorado in there. They dropped varsity jackets for a bunch of schools. They've got everything you need to look your best during the football season that is coming up. Y'all, there's so much good stuff. And they are going to restock. I keep saying this. They're going to restock the green Big 8 t-shirt that I must have in my collection because I need a vintage green Big 8 conference t-shirt in my drawer that is full of t-shirts. And my wife will be like, did you need another one? I will say, I needed this one. And when I buy it, I'm going to use my own promo code 101215 TEN1215 and get 15% off all non-sale items. You notice I didn't say first time. I didn't say one time only. I said all non-sale items. So you can buy stuff now. You can come back and buy stuff later. You can buy stuff because guess what? There's going to be more things coming betwixt now and the start of the college football season because they're just going to keep bringing more Big 12 vintage goodness. It's going to be fantastic. It's going to be wonderful.
If I get a time machine and go back in the past, can I buy stuff from the past?
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah. Huh. I mean, I can think of other things I do with a time machine.
It was TEN1215.
That's correct. That's correct.
Okay,
that's promo code. So charliehustle.com. Whether you got a time machine that moves forward or backwards, you can use that promo code, get 15% off on on-sale items. Charlie Hustle, vintage made fresh.
Fresh. I got 15% off on this shirt.
Yeah, you did. All right.
I got this shirt from a women's basketball player who I tutored.
Well, there you go.
That's legit.
Yeah.
That's legit.
That's reverse NIL.
That's
true.
Give me your
shirt. Is this my name, image, and likeness for being a tutor?
All right, Drake. Let's run through the games that you have on your list that Joe has not mentioned so far. Start at the top, work your way down.
I'm breaking the rules. Whatever's normal, do the exact opposite. It's one of the core pillars of the Savannah Bananas. Number 12. Take that. I'm running through them quickly. Number 12, Colorado at Nebraska. Only reason I have Colorado on here, I think this sets the tone for where they were last season when they blitzed everybody in viewership ratings in the Pac-12. They became the nation's darling. If Colorado beats North Dakota State, which is tough, and then wins at Nebraska, they then become a focal point early on in the Big 12. If eyeballs are on you, not a bad thing. Brett Yormark has proved that. The loser of this game does not go to a bowl game. I think Colorado likely loses. If they win, though, it becomes very consequential for viewership. Number 11 would be Arizona at West Virginia. I said earlier, I have a lot of my games on here where I say, this is going to make or break Arlington. This one is going to break Arlington for West Virginia. Again, I think they win a lot of games where you go, oh, good for them. And then they lose a couple where you go, forgot Neil Brown is still their head coach. I love the Houston game last season. They're going to lose this game at home. Phillip, did you have this one on your board?
I do. I've got it number 9. This is number 9 on my board. I think this is a fantastic game on the schedule. I think this is going to be a fun game. And just stop and think for a second and realize that if I had told you 5 years ago that West Virginia and Arizona would be playing each other in of the games that are now conference games of the Big 12, which one is weirder to tell yourself 5 years ago? Utah, UCF, or West Virginia, Arizona? I think it's Utah, UCF, but this is like
Utah,
a 1
UCF. Yeah.
Yes.
But
this one too.
Go back to the Big West, or sorry, the Big East when Utah was in the Mountain West. The Big East still existed. And you were like, hey, by the way, this is what's going to be a conference game with you.
Again, I have a time machine, so I get all the secrets. But 15 years ago, when I didn't have a time machine, you give me this little nugget like that. The BYU schedule is made up of 2 Conference USA, 2 Pac-12, 2 Big 12. It's nuts what you would have seen 15 years ago.
But I agree.
I feel like right now, what we're talking about right now, it's the old lady meme where it's just like Urban Meyer used to coach Utah and they beat Alabama in a bowl game, and it's like, sure, let's go to bed.
Sure thing, Grandma. Sure thing. No, I think this is a huge game. I think it's a game between two teams that are going to be contenders. I like West Virginia. I think this will be a fun game. So yeah, I got this on my list as well at number 9.
Number 10 for me. again, consequential for Arlington. Week 7, we go ahead and pretty much establish that Iowa State is not going to be a conference championship team. West Virginia is still in it, but when Iowa State goes to West Virginia and the Mountaineers win, you pretty much count out what the Cyclones do toward the end of the season. This is number 10. I think I just when you close your eyes and think about Iowa State at West Virginia, that's a really intriguing thing to yeah, wow. Ho, that was crazy. I think that for Big 12 fans, it's going to be a game you tune into.
It's the Riot Bowl. It is the Riot Bowl. We have a name for it. The trophy is a gas can with like
Fire.
duct taped stuff on it. So,
jeez.
West Virginia does like fire.
Not
not
love
mine.
fire.
Okay.
Not mine.
Okay.
Not mine.
Both of these, I think by week 7, they both could be ranked. That feels generally okay. Though again, Iowa State, I go back to that Brock Purdy year when everybody they were the world beaters. They were going to go to the Big 12 championship, and then they started 2-2. They lost to Baylor on the road. You're like, oh, that's not good. Number 9, Kansas State at West Virginia. Again, we talk about games that are consequential for Arlington. I don't know. This one's tough. I don't know who's going to win this game. Kansas State at West Virginia in week 8. Again, West Virginia has a really good I have 3 West Virginias right back to back to back. Arizona, Iowa State, Kansas State, and those 3 are all complete coin flips. I genuinely don't know. That's at currently 9 for me.
I have it at 6. I have this one as number 6. Also, let me sell you this narrative for this game.
Yeah.
On one side, you have Avery Johnson, DJ Giddens, and Dylan Edwards. On this side, I give you Garrett Green, CJ Donaldson, and Jaheim White.
And Hudson Clement.
That quarterback. That's fair. But the quarterback running back duo, trio there and that matchup, it should be such a fun thing to watch. Now, look, I think Kansas State's defense is going to be better than West Virginia's, and it's going to be the kind of help deciding thing here. But that should be a good game. That should be a good game this year.
Right.
And I think I think it is also impactful. So yeah, I got it on mine.
I went in our number 8 was my BYU at Utah. 7, we've missed this one. Iowa State at Kansas. Week 11. Here's where the Kansas Jayhawks assert their dominance. Iowa State, this again, we talk consequential. They think it's almost the Baylor scenario when Baylor was 6-3 a couple of years ago, and we were all building hey, wait a second, the Bears could go to the conference championship still if they win out, and then they went 6-7 and lost to Air Force. This feels like that spot for Iowa State of, mathematically we could still do it, and then they lose in they're sitting at 24th in the country. Kansas is a really respectable 12th, led by a really strong offense. And Iowa State, Kansas is number 7 for me. Phillip?
I also have this at number 7. We both have it at 7. What do you know about that? What do you know? I mean, again, we're talking about teams that we consider to be in that very large grouping of contenders. So whenever these kinds of teams match up, that's going to be an interesting game. Plus, where does this game fall? So it for Kansas, it's at home off of an idle week. For Iowa State, it's on the road after Texas Tech. They get Cincinnati after. Kansas got BYU on the road. It's a late season game that I think is gonna eliminate at least one of these teams.
Yep.
If not both.
Yep.
One may be already eliminated, it may eliminate the other, but this feels like one of those games where it's a late season, 2 teams who still might have it. One of them's getting knocked out of the conference championship race. So yeah, number 7 as well.
I have at 6, Kansas at Kansas State, which we've already gone over. At 5, I also really wanted to pick conference games only. This feels like a spot where West Virginia can shock not just the Big 12, but also the country. At number 5, West Virginia hosting Penn State. We always talk about how Penn State cannot win the big game within the Big 10. Can they go on the road after how competitively West Virginia played that game in Happy Valley last year? Can Penn State go win with Drew Aller at quarterback? That dude looked like bad a couple of times last season in primetime spots. This is another where you go to West Virginia. That's a raucous environment, and they will get up for this game beyond any, this is going to be awesome to watch from a Big 12 standpoint. I'm glued to this game so early on. West Virginia continuity has a whole lot figured out with, as you mentioned, Jaheim White and Garrett Green. I've got West Virginia, and I'm breaking kind of a rule here. West Virginia, Penn State outside of the Big 12 setting a tone in week 1.
If I hadn't have done only conference games, this would have been a top 3 game for me. 100%.
Yeah. Agreed. No, I think I've said this. This is the third night in a row, but like West Virginia fans, like, why is anybody talking about us? Why isn't anybody talking about us? Because West Virginia is there's 16 teams in this conference now. There's a giant mix of teams in contention, and West Virginia is not one of the teams that enough people are that high on. But if they win this game, and this is I think West Virginia is a better team this year than last year. If they win this game, everybody's going to be talking about West Virginia. You don't have to worry about it. You're mad nobody's talking to you right now. Go win week 1. Everyone will talk about you. You won't have to worry about it. Y'all should have been paying attention to us. We all absolutely will. And since this is also one of the few opportunities for the Big 12 to have a marquee non-con victory, there's not very many of them on the schedule. If West Virginia gets this, even if they're not in Arlington, that elevates the entire Big 12, because now beating West Virginia, unless Penn State just falls on its face, beating West Virginia is going to mean that much more.
Yeah, the Big 12, the ACC, anytime the two of us play either the Big 10 or the SEC, there's different stuff behind that because of the politics going on in the background.
Dare I say, it just means more?
It just means more.
If Colorado beats Nebraska, we all point at Nebraska and laugh. If Oklahoma State beats Arkansas, we all point at Arkansas and laugh. If West Virginia beats Penn State, we point at West Virginia and say, oh, they're good.
Mm-hmm.
That to me is what sets this game apart non-conference wise. They're not playing an opponent who's been a pushover on the national scene. Penn State is good. We all know they're good. One of the top 3 brands in the Big Ten the last 5 years. Number 4 for me, this is the only one that Joe did not have. It's in my top 5, and Joe didn't have it. Kansas at West Virginia in week 3. So if West Virginia is coming off a win, namely a win against Penn State, and we already know Kansas is ranked, Kansas will still be ranked in week 3. This becomes, if West Virginia beats Penn State especially, becomes a very early, hey, put up your dukes. Like, what are the chops on these two schools? Is Kansas legit? Can they stay healthy offensively? One of the most prolific offenses in the Big 12. And then West Virginia, we've already rattled off the amount of, and Hudson Clement, again, I don't think gets enough flowers for how good of a receiver he is in the Big 12. 2 high-power offenses going against each other. Kansas is on the road. I think West Virginia wins this game, gets out to a hot start. And while I still have Kansas in Arlington or damn close to it at the end of the year, at number 4, Kansas at West Virginia is a big game.
I don't have this one. This is not one on my list.
It's early. I broke my rule of like my late year consequential shit. I broke my rule there.
Okay. Yeah, but I agree with you. This has like this changes where the tracks are laid.
True. Okay.
And you were laying your tracks with the butt bowl.
All right. I will go. Mine left are, forgive me, 8, 10, 11, and 12. So number 8, I have Arizona at UCF. This one is later in the season for both teams. And it does feel like kind of like what James was talking about, being where it is on the schedule. Was it 13, like week 9? This kind of feels like it could be an elimination game for both of these teams, because if they are both in contention, like I think again late in the season, one of these teams is getting knocked out with this loss. And again, this is the space game. Arizona fans, I put this out on Twitter and they're like, we don't care. I'm like, y'all about to learn what space game is. Okay. Oklahoma State fans know. We understand. We've seen the record. We know what happened. Y'all about to learn space game. It's going to be interesting. It's going to be a little bit of a wake-up call. So I have that one at number 8. Number 10 is UCF at Iowa State. The 2 most vocal online, immediately disliked each other fan bases when UCF joined the Big 12, and Big 12 did not match them up in football last season. We had to wait a whole extra year for this game, for the battle of the 2 Twitter tryhards. No, sir. This game was going on the list. I don't care if we're at a point in the season where it's like, neither team's in contention. I don't care. This is the Vibes Bowl. This is the 2 teams that are going to just be sitting in the stadium tweeting at each other the entire game. Like, yeah, what happened, Brocco? Yeah, Brocco. This game's going to be so good. In Ames. That is number 10. Number 11, Texas Tech at Arizona.
That's fun, man.
This one was this one almost made my list, because this is a Wild West, old school, back in the day conference game.
We've probably named 20 games that just rock. It rolls off the tongue,
this
and you go,
is cool. That's
fun. That's really fun.
Let me read you Texas Tech's schedule leading into this game. What is it? Akron. What is their FCS game?
Hey,
it doesn't matter.
the
FCS
zips are getting better. Don't
Abilene.
sleep on the zips.
FCS at Washington State, North Texas, Arizona State, Cincinnati. So you have 4 home games, 1 game at Washington State before you go on the road to Arizona. If year 3 is the way I think year 3 is supposed to be for Joey McGuire, Texas Tech and Baron Morton, if it's really Morton time, it's Morton time. Texas Tech should be 5-0 going on the road to Arizona in this game. For a game between 2 programs that are used to cacti, whatever, and
there he goes again, Joe. Didn't go to Baylor.
The giant, like the trophy for this is a giant cactus. I mean, just massive cactus, or it can be a giant, you have actually gold plated an entire tumbleweed. I don't care which one you want to do. The tumbleweed one's more fun. Like,
well, the paper mache department can't do tumbleweeds. Cactus is a little bit easier.
If Texas Tech wins, they get to claim that Arizona is also part of West Texas.
The game, because this should be like a lack of water, dirt, old school, like spaghetti Western looking game. The Cactus Trophy has to have nails welded on it. Like it has to still be prickly.
Like,
and no tetanus shots allowed.
It has to be like that Western rusted out art look. That's what it's gonna be.
But like for Arizona, they will have already gone to Kansas State and to Utah before this game.
They'll be seasoned.
If somehow Arizona is 4-0 and Texas Tech's 5-0 in this
game, if that's the case, if they're both undefeated,
if Texas Tech is undefeated or Arizona's undefeated after going to Kansas State and to Utah, Philip, I will go on a live. I'll go on a live stream with you again. I will claw out my left hamstring. I'll eat it. I'll eat it raw.
You can season it.
Fine.
What's Waco's season of choice? Is it just pour Dr. Pepper on things?
Something with Balcones in it, just like pouring all of Balcones whiskey on top of it. I'll pour whiskey on top of but I'll like claw it out, and then because at Kansas State, bye week at Utah's tough. That's tough.
Do you grate shiplap onto things?
He's making it sound worse.
Parmesan.
Is toll hams are served regularly at Magnolia Table.
Yeah, my hamstrings serve there all the time. Joe's Wi-Fi cut out. He's in Waco. We don't do Wi-Fi in Waco. Sorry.
That's okay. And number 12.
I'm not in Waco. I'm not in Waco. Don't put that on.
Joe. I'm putting it on Waco, not you.
I told y'all I had a Baylor game. I have one Baylor on this list. At number 12.
Air Force.
Colorado versus Baylor.
I'm going to that game. I'll be there.
This is
who doesn't go to a bowl game bowl?
This is Colorado. Well, this is Colorado's first Big 12 bowl game or Big 12 game of the season. This is the first official conference game for Baylor. We've already had the Utah game. Let's assume they've lost. Now we're going to face Colorado. This is going to have a lot of attention on it, being the first Big 12 game for Deion Sanders in Colorado. This is a big game. People are going to pay attention to Colorado. This is the first conference game for Colorado back in the Big 12. They're facing off against Baylor. Dave Aranda hot seat. There is a lot of interesting storylines at play here. And so, like, if you're Dave Aranda, you've already lost at Utah. You lose to Colorado. Now you're 2-2 to start the season where you've got to try and get things going. Now Colorado might be building something.
Yeah.
Or Baylor's down. But, like, this has got one of those, like, people are going to pay attention because it's Colorado, and it's going to get built up because it's Colorado's first Big 12 game. Like, would it shock anyone if Fox just went like, all right, big noon for Colorado Baylor? Like,
no,
we don't.
And as we all know, like in the original Colorado era of the Big 12, I mean, both these teams were powerhouses. This was must see TV back in 2008. Everybody wanted to watch Colorado Baylor.
Everybody, here he comes, Sean Bell to Dominic Ziegler. In Boulder, the Bears have improved to 3-6.
Talking my era.
Strike at the Bears.
Every Baylor fan's favorite part of the game, Daniel Sepulveda out to punt.
He was a hell of a punter, Joe. He was a hell of a punter.
And
we love punters. Y'all, we love special teams players here at the 1012 Network, 1012 podcast. So
is Colton Boomer back, by the way?
As every Iowa State fan loves to say, punting is winning. That's their favorite phrase at Iowa State.
Oh, clip it, post it.
Yes, Colton Boomer is back at UCF.
All right. This is fun. This was a ton of fun. We just named a ton of games that should, if you've watched this, whether live or you're listening to it later, like if you hear all these games we named and you're not jacked for the season, you're like, no, I don't care about my team. Like, cool, that's fine, whatever. I understand that. I have 3 small children. I can only watch so much anymore. But like, that is a ton of games you should be jacked and excited for. Like,
Yeah,
just
if you're out there like, I can't believe I don't have Vanderbilt and Mississippi State on my schedule. Like, come on.
Yeah. Yeah.
we're so tired of playing Kansas State and Texas Tech the world. We need to play Tennessee and Kentucky.
Kentucky. I wanna play South Carolina.
Yeah.
Can I segue this into
Get a Beamer and a Stoops on my schedule, or it's not real football. Can I get you red box straight to red box Beamer and Stoops? Because that's what we got for you today.
the Texas Longhorns will play Vanderbilt, Florida, Arkansas, Kentucky, and Texas A&M all consecutively. Like, what are we doing there, guys? I would rather have that.
Vandy's got to win.
I would
record.
rather have that than some of these Big 12 schedules.
Yeah. Who wants to watch games against teams that are evenly matched? Oh, wait, no, I'm sorry. That's exactly what you described. You're gone. I can make fun of you. All right. Shout out to Longhorn Republic, our Texas show here on the network. They are a couple of fantastic guys, Gerald and Kyle. All right. Go listen to the Bear Den Baylor podcast here at the 1012 Network. You can find it all over. Joe and Matt are incredible hosts. They have a great show. And even if you don't like Baylor, you can skip to the pop culture stuff. There's always a lot of Star Wars talk, and it's a lot of fun. And of course, look, I brought on another Big 12 podcast show host onto my show. You know why? Because in the Big 12, we are all family. It's like the Olive Garden minus the free breadsticks. So it's not quite as good, but still, we love all things Big 12 here. It's Big 12 is very much like a family in that, like, we can say whatever we want to each other. But if you say one thing to one of us from outside the Big 12, we will pound you into the pavement.
We are online. Don't come at us.
We're all crazy too.
There's no more online conference than the Big 12.
We have nothing to lose at this point. Don't poke us.
Don't poke the Bears.
We're open for business.
The Buffs or the Pokes or the Red Raiders or the Citronauts. Don't poke a Cyclone. All right, y'all. It's been great. We will be back again tomorrow for night 4 of Rankings Week. What's on the docket for tomorrow? I think we're doing most important players for the 2024 season. I got 2 great guests coming on. I won't tell you who they are, because if I do, then they won't make it, because something will happen. That's how podcasting works. You guys know. All right. Ton of fun. Thank you again to Drake. Thank you again to Joe. You guys, I knew this would be a vibe, but it absolutely was. It was a ton of fun. Talk to you again tomorrow night.
Later.
Sickle Bears.
This is not Texas Tech.